The IRS just admitted on camera that they can and will take your Social Security check, up to 50% of it without warning. And get this, you may have heard of this woman by the name of Senator Elizabeth Warren. Well, Senator Elizabeth Warren not only knew that this was coming, but she literally stood in Congress, read the law word for word, and still refused to stop it. You heard me right, guys. While everyday Americans, whether you're, on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, are getting threat letters in the mail saying, oops, we overpaid you. Now we're taking it all back. Well, Senator Elizabeth Warren was too busy playing political theater to stop the financial assault on the very people who paid into the system their whole lives. Now, if you know anyone who might fall into this situation, who has basically been paying into the situation their whole lives, go ahead and share this video with them. But here is the kicker, guys. The IRS overpayment rule, it wasn't passed quietly in the middle of the night. They bragged about it. They confessed that they'd automatically withhold half of your check unless you take action within 90 days, no trial, no appeal, no mercy. And if you think Senator Elizabeth Warren and her swamp buddies didn't know that this is coming, well, think again. Now, I'm going to go ahead and share with you guys some information regarding her reciting the exact IRS law that gave this bureaucracy unchecked power. And then I want you to watch as she turns a blind eye to how the same law is now used to punish retirees on Social Security, the disabled, SSI, SSDI, widows. This is not a glitch in the system, guys. This is the system. And if you or someone you love is on Social Security, your mailbox may already have one of these clawbacks letter waiting for you. Now, what happens next could easily determine whether you get to keep your check or you lose half of it for years to come. So today, I want to go ahead and break down what the IRS just confessed publicly, what Senator Elizabeth Warren said, and what she refused to say, which might actually be more important to you than what she did say. Who's most at risk for losing their benefits, and how this all connects to Trump, Harvard, and the weaponization of federal government. Now, it's all coming up, guys. Trust me, you do not want to miss this. If you appreciate the daily news updates, hit the like button. Matter of fact, destroy the like button and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you guys, because once you hear how long the government's been planning this, you're never going to look at Social Security. You're never going to look at your Social Security check or the Senate hearing the same way again. I tell you that. So let's go ahead and start off with what the IRS just confessed. And no, I'm not even exaggerating. This is a new policy update, and it dropped like a bombshell on April 25th, 2025. The Social Security Administration, under guidance from IRS legal frameworks, now are claiming they can claw back up to 50% of your monthly check if they say they overpaid you. 50% gone. And the worst part? Well, you may not have done anything wrong. That's right. You might not have done anything wrong and still get punished. Does that sound fair to you? Does anyone else have a problem with that? Well, we've now confirmed thousands of Americans are receiving these sickening letters in the mail. These letters tell you that the government accidentally overpaid you, maybe due to a computer glitch, maybe some AI problem, artificial intelligence, perhaps their slow system. Well, whatever the case is, they now want their money back, and they're not going to wait. They won't ask nicely. They're just going to start taking half your money. Are you okay with that? And yes, they were originally planning to take 100% of your benefits, right up until they got caught and they ended up backtracking under pressure. I want you to let that sink in for a moment, okay? So these people, they were ready to strip seniors of everything that they were owed for an error that the government made, not even the recipient. But it gets worse. If you don't respond to the letter in 90 days, the IRS will go full throttle and seize half of your monthly payment indefinitely, up until the debt, or until the amount that they say that you owe is repaid. So whatever the debt is that they're claiming that they've overpaid you, they'll keep doing that until it's repaid. So here's a question. Here's a question that probably the entire country should be asking. Where is Elizabeth Warren? Oh, well, she's not silent. In fact, She is the one who read the rule out loud in Congress, and she still refused to say that it was illegal. Now, let me take you back to a hearing that really should have been the moment that we all stopped this. Okay? In front of the entire Senate Finance Committee, Elizabeth Warren grilled the Trump-era IRS nominee. She whipped out 26 U.S. Code 7217. She began reading it line by line like she was a constitutional scholar. She said, I shall be unlawful for, she said, it shall be unlawful for any applicable person to request the IRS to conduct or terminate an audit or other investigation of any taxpayer. Question for you. Does that sound familiar? Well, she said it. She knew it. She even got the nominee to almost admit the president can't use the IRS as a political weapon. But here's what she didn't do. She didn't lift a finger to stop the IRS from weaponizing the same legal structure against you, against millions of Social Security recipients. She just focused the entire hearing on Trump, supposedly threatening Harvard's tax status. Meanwhile, the IRS is literally clawing back checks from disabled veterans, widows, anybody else who's receiving Social Security, seniors on fixed income, you name it. And Warren, not a freaking word, guys. But why? Why is she so quiet? Well, because she's not trying to protect you. She is trying to protect the system. Now, I want to show you guys exactly how these overpayment rules work, why most people receiving these clawback letters are actually innocent, and how you could possibly be next without even knowing it. So if you guys appreciate that information, please hit the like button. I really appreciate the support. But after that, I want to dig a little bit deeper into this big, beautiful bill, the betrayal inside of it, and what Trump is now doing to stop it. Yeah, you're not going to want to miss this one, guys. And you do not want to miss what I found out in Section 7217 that changes everything. Now, forget the fancy slogans. Here's what really matters. Thanks, Ron. We appreciate your info. I have a new plan which saves me $1,000 a year. Guys, that's not a typo. That is real savings, and from one phone call to Chapter. That was actually a comment that I received on a previous YouTube video of mine. One of you guys left me a comment saying how much you saved calling Chapter. They saved $1,000 a year with Chapter on their Medicare. Isn't that amazing? Their licensed Medicare experts compare every single plan available, not just the ones that they happen to benefit, just the ones that benefit the big insurance companies. And their only goal, believe it or not, is helping you get the best coverage for the least cost. And the reason they do it is because their own parents, like the founders of the company, their own parents got screwed over, and they were like, never again. So they created a company to prevent others from getting screwed over like their own parents do. And they do it. It's completely free. It's amazing. Give our friends over at Chapter a call right now. You can reach them at 909-563-8279, or better yet, go to their website right now. I'll leave a link down below in a pinned comment or in the description. It's just askchapter.org/Ron. And you can hit that link 24/7 and get assistance. Guys, start saving money immediately. All right. So now let's talk about how we know the IRS has the legal cover, right? Senator Elizabeth Warren, she helped to legitimize that, right? But how exactly is this happening to people who did nothing wrong, right? Does that sound a little troublesome to you? Well, I want to go ahead and break this down because people are not talking about this, and they should. So when the IRS and the Social Security Administration say that you were overpaid, what they really mean to say is they screwed up. I'm going to keep it PG because I would have just said, they kind of effed up. Anyway, maybe your income changed slightly, right? Maybe the SSA failed to process your updated information in time. Maybe they just flat out made a mistake. But of course, instead of owning up to it, they're now punishing you for their own incompetence. And here is the ultimate gut punch, as if that wasn't enough, right? Even if it's 100% their fault, you still owe it. Anybody think that that's fair? Because according to their new policy, the default response is to demand full repayment. And if you don't respond to their letter within like 90 days, then they'll begin withholding 50% of your Social Security benefits automatically. No hearing, no appeal, no explanation. You're guilty and broke. And so now here's where the anger should really kind of like turn into some absolute fury, right? These rules don't apply evenly. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're on Title II benefits, that's retirement disability or survivor, you're in the crosshairs. I think that, and I'm not 100% sure, is Title II the same as SSDI? You guys might know if you happen to be on that. But if you're on SSI, the withholding is capped at only 10%. But still, they're still taking money from your check. So they're targeting the working class seniors, people who have worked their entire lives, paid into the system, did everything that they were supposed to be doing right? And now they're being told, sorry, we overpaid you. Now hand over fistfuls of cash or else. Oh, and you want to challenge that? Oh, you're going to have to call the SSA. You're going to have to wait on hold for hours, possibly get hung up on, and hope you can get an in-person meeting at a government office with months of backlogs. And hopefully the nearest office is actually near you. Some people are saying that the nearest office is like 20 miles away, so, or more. The system is rigged for failure and they know it. So I just wanted to share that with you, but this is only the tip of the iceberg. Now, let's talk about what's coming. Let's talk about why this is not even over yet, right? Now, we got to talk about Trump's big, beautiful bill and how it passed the House with just one vote, 215 to 214. This was a nail biter, okay? And yes, it included a $4,000 Social Security tax deduction, but it did not eliminate taxes on benefits like Trump originally wanted in the bill. And worse, it also didn't stop the clawbacks. So let that sink in for a second, right, guys? Like, even with all the talk about helping seniors, Congress did not allow this bill to stop the IRS from taking 50% of your check under the current overpayment rules. And so this is why Republicans in the Senate are pissed off. They're furious. Senators like Ron Johnson, Mike Lee, Rick Scott, they're now demanding changes. So we could see this bill get destroyed in the Senate. Cuts to wasteful spending, a repeal of Medicaid loopholes, and most importantly, real protection for Social Security recipients. Now, some are even calling this. So let that sink in, guys. Like, even with all this talk about, helping seniors, this bill does nothing to stop the IRS from taking 50% of your check under the current overpayment rules. And that's why Republicans in the Senate are furious. Senators like Ron Johnson, Mike Lee, and Senator Rick Scott are now demanding changes, cuts to wasteful spending, repeal of Medicare or Medicaid loopholes, and most importantly, real protections for Social Security recipients. Some are even calling this what it really is. It's a federal shakedown for retirees. And remember, Senator Elizabeth Warren helped create the conditions for all of this. She read the law. She knew the IRS had too much unchecked power, and she chose to weaponize it against Trump, not to protect you. Now, guys, we need to uncover this next trap inside the big, beautiful bill, what almost nobody's talking about, including hidden Medicare reform that could wipe out rural hospitals and gut millions. Literally just gut the benefits of millions. But after that, I need to also reveal to you guys why Senator Elizabeth Warren's silence on Social Security clawbacks is part of a much bigger agenda to centralize IRS power, muzzle dissent, and quietly drain the middle class. You do not want to miss this, guys. All right, so here's what mainstream media will not touch. While everybody's distracted by the IRS stealing Social Security checks, there's another silent war that's being waged inside President Trump's big, beautiful bill, and it's aimed straight at Medicaid. That's right, guys. Senators like Rick Scott, Ron Johnson, they're all pushing for deeper cuts. They're calling for a full rollback of Biden's renewable energy incentives and for returning spending to pre-pandemic levels. Now, on the surface, it sounds pretty good. Sounds great, actually. But underneath, the bill contains a bombshell provision that forces people between 100% and 138% of the federal poverty line to pay $35 per medical visit, per medical service. You heard me, guys. That means working families, the ones who are barely scraping by as it is, would have to pay more to stay healthy, while rural hospitals, many of which depend on federal reimbursements, they're just hanging on by a thread. Even Susan Collins and Josh Hawley are worried. They're warning that this could collapse healthcare access in red state counties where rural hospitals could be forced to shut down entirely. And who would that hurt the most? Well, think about it. Seniors, disabled Americans, fixed income families. I just picture like Social Security recipients, SSI, SSDI, the same people who are already losing half of their Social Security to IRS clawbacks. Anybody else seeing the pattern here? The people who built this country, the people who followed the rules and paid into the system, this crappy system for like 40 years and trusted their government, they're now getting squeezed from both ends. There's no toothpaste left in the tube here, guys. The IRS takes their checks, Congress cuts their health care, and Elizabeth Warren, not a word. She don't even care. Let's not play dumb here, guys. Senator Elizabeth Warren is too smart, she's too calculated, and too legally sharp to pretend she didn't know that this was going on. All right? She read the law line by line on national television. She interrogated the Trump nominee like a prosecutor. She even got him to admit the president cannot direct IRS audits. And yet, when the real IRS audit began, not against Harvard, but against, retired American citizens, she went dead silent. No hearings, no press briefings, no emergency legislation to stop the 50% clawback. Why? Because the truth is far more disturbing than negligence. Okay? The same statute that Senator Elizabeth Warren wielded as a weapon to keep Trump in check is now being used by the IRS to keep you in line. And that's the game. They write the rules, they claim moral superiority, and when it hits the people who actually vote, work, and pay taxes, they vanish. It is legalized theft. And Senator Elizabeth Warren didn't just watch it happen, she actually helped build the stage it happened on. Now, we're not done yet either. In fact, I want to show you what Trump is doing right now behind the scenes to take this fight back to the deep state IRS, including the declassification orders, the return of Kash Patel, and the new bills coming out of Congress to stop the clawbacks before even more lives get ruined. So, and I need to break down why Joe Biden's fingerprints are all over the damage still unraveling from Social Security to foreign aid chaos, guys. It's crazy. So we need to talk about the storm that's coming, because while Senator Elizabeth Warren is hiding behind legal jargon and Biden naps through Congress and through all the chaos, President Trump, he's not playing defense. President Trump is launching an all-out counteroffensive to take the IRS apart piece by piece. And it starts with one word: declassification. Trump and FBI Director Kash Patel, yes, he's back. They are opening up the vaults. Guys, we're talking Crossfire Hurricane, Biden cover-ups, and internal memos showing who greenlit these Social Security clawbacks. We're also hearing chatter from inside Congress. J.D. Vance, Byron Donalds, even Tulsi Gabbard are preparing explosive hearings for what they're calling executive fraud and domestic and economic warfare. So these aren't just symbolic. They're out here laying the groundwork for new laws to stop the IRS from ever touching your benefits again without due process. Now, one of the bills that are already in draft form require judicial review for any overpayment recovery above $500. Okay, ending the automatic clawbacks and force SSA and IRS officials to personally sign off before withholding a penny from your check. Trump is done playing nice, and he's making it clear: if I'm president, which he is, There will be no clawbacks. There will be no taxes on Social Security and no more using the IRS as a weapon, period. And that, folks, is exactly what is driving the panic in Washington, D.C. Now, what we're talking about here is clearly betrayal. I mean, we need to address the unelected hand that has been pulling the strings behind the scenes all along. Joe Biden. Yes, that Joe Biden. Because as Trump and Congress pull back the curtain, what they're finding is far more disturbing than incompetence. It is intentional shielding, manipulation, executive obstruction. Now, according to new reports, we're talking from, inside the White House. Joe Biden, she previously led a group of 5 insiders who controlled Joe Biden's access, filtered information, and in some cases, even cut off meetings mid-sentence when Biden began to drift off message. Now, some insiders have, started calling her Lady McBiden. Okay, remember that moment with Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro? Sources say Jill Biden cut off Joe Biden just before he could hear the real poll numbers. Why? Because the entire illusion of competence would collapse in front of another governor. And here's the twisted irony. While Joe Biden was controlling access to preserve her husband's image, the IRS was ripping Social Security checks away from grandmothers and veterans. And she said nothing. Now, you want to talk about soft tyranny? This is what it looks like. Weaponized bureaucracies, shadow presidencies, and silent enablers doing damage from behind the scenes. Guys, I need to walk you through what's coming next for Joe Biden, because some lawmakers are now calling for testimony and how President Trump's new legislation on presidential fitness could prevent the entire disaster from ever happening again. So, yeah, where does all of this go from here is a real question, right? Because the cover-ups, the clawbacks, the lies, it's all coming undone. Sources inside of Washington, D.C., they're now saying Joe Biden could soon face subpoenas to testify before Congress under oath. Why? Because there's growing bipartisan belief that she knowingly interfered with presidential function, manipulated White House access, and allowed federal agencies like the IRS to run wild under the illusion of normalcy. And get this, while the media is propping her up as some elderly, graceful stateswoman, we're now hearing that she's working on a memoir. Yeah, you can't make this up, guys. A memoir. So while people across the country are losing 50% of their Social Security checks, getting fraudulent overpayment letters from the IRS, and struggling to afford basic food and medicine and necessities in a Biden inflation economy, Joe Biden is out here shopping for a book deal, likely to garner multiple millions of dollars from this thing. But the real book that needs to be written is probably The Rise and Fall of the Shadow Presidency. How about that instead, Jill? And, when these hearings begin, led by J.D. Vance and Byron Donalds and the whole new Trump coalition, the American people will finally get to see what's been hiding in plain sight. It wasn't just Joe who was running the show. It was unelected insiders protected by the media, empowered by corrupted laws, and backed by political elites like Elizabeth Warren, who knew what the IRS was capable of and just chose to do nothing. So I want to leave you with this, guys. Just this week, President Donald Trump posted something on Truth Social, and it really stuck with me. He said, we will never again allow the IRS, the DOJ, or the federal bureaucracy to be used against the American people, not on my watch. And this time, he's got allies. The legislation and the mandate. Social Security clawbacks, gone. No tax on benefits, locked. Shadow presidencies, investigated. IRS weaponization, finished. Because this isn't about Harvard. This is not about Harvard. This is not about DC cocktail parties. This is not about who wins these Senate hearings. It's about you. It's about your check. It's about your dignity, and it's about your future. And for once, somebody's actually fighting to give it all back. Now, if you're tired of getting steamrolled by elites like Senator Elizabeth Warren, If you're sick of bureaucrats stealing your Social Security while smiling in your face on camera, if you believe they never should have gotten away with this again, make sure to share this video, subscribe to The Truth, and call your representative today and tell them these clawbacks are theft and you're not going to stay quiet about it. Because if they can take your check this year, next year, they'll probably try and take your freedom. Give our friends at Chapter a call. I'll leave a phone number down below, or you can hit them up on the web and see how much money you can save on your Medicare. We'll see you next time.